towards the table, and the session right after lunch. Then you're like, oh, well, that'll leisurely come my way in. But thank you all so much for being over here, and good to have you. I'm very excited to present to you my session on pioneering a study buddy, an AI study buddy, more importantly, that we call Syntea, synthetic teaching assistant. So, firstly, very warm welcome from my side, and great that you've taken the time to allow me to share what I think is one of the most seismic shifts in education in general. Just to introduce who we are and my institution, we're IU, International University of Applied Sciences, based out here in Germany in itself. We're Germany's largest private institution by way of 170,000 students, on our way to around almost 200,000 students. We're Europe's largest edtech player, and we own and operate entities in the UK and Canada as well, and are aggressively expanding our international footprint over here. I'm the academic director, and I do believe that this is really one of the most exciting times, at least in my life, when it's come down to applying Gen AI to really augment what our vision is. Just a couple of numbers to see how our learning journey has been. We're a relatively young university. We were founded in 2012, predominantly on the basis of being a bespoke, very niche degree provider with rolling, let's say, American-style campuses, if I may say so, offering very niche programs in hospitality management, aviation management, with approximately 2,000 to 7,000 students approximately. We grew a bit over there over time, and we started embracing technology as being the real lever and the enabler for us to scale quite a bit. And if we fast forward to 2022, we were about at 130K students. The last 2 years has seen us acquire our 2 new entities in the UK and in Canada as well. And of course, we're now on track to becoming almost 200K students in general. So let me maybe inspire your thinking a little bit, and imagine that for a second, that every human could access the most personalized degree of education to grow. Do you think the world would be a much better place? Well, we definitely believe it would be so. While education might not be the one-size-fits-all solution to everything in this world, it certainly is a very strong proponent to helping us solve some of the major problems in this world, be it a threat to democracy, inequality, climate change. And we now believe that our mission to actually democratize education and allow everyone to grow personally has been enabled and augmented much more with this advent of Gen AI. So not only we at IU, but now we believe that humankind in general and educators alike can also begin to deliver on a similar mission. AI, as we obviously know, artificial intelligence, we like to call it in our setup as being amplified intelligence, because this is how we aim to use it, and hopefully we can show you how Syntea is promoting this mission and this vision as well. So I firmly believe we're on this road to personalize education and not only shape what we learn, but also shape how we learn as well. And specifically speaking, I think AI is one of the biggest disruptors that our industry in specific is facing for certain. So what is our vision for Syntea? Our vision for Syntea is to really revolutionize education and on a more specific level, fuse formal and informal learning elements together, and also somehow find a way to get away with this summative Big Bang exam as you have it, and really involve the assessment along your interaction with Syntea as well. And last but not least, we aim to do this in a way that really minimizes the burden to learn while also maximizing the learning outcome as well. And one way in which we do this is by employing a very Socratic way of teaching, which you'll see when I go ahead with my slides a little bit more. Let's go back a little bit, right? So the previous greatest innovation in education was really merging everybody into the classroom, right? This was a great way to scale education, and this was a great way to scale accessibility as well. However, it didn't come without its shortfalls because, of course, everyone has their own way of learning. So what was the next best gold standard? The next best gold standard was tutoring, one-on-one tutoring. However, that didn't have its own pitfalls as well. We as humans were not always available. we get tired, we get impatient, and it's not maybe the most cost-effective way of doing it either. Therefore, we believe that there was a fundamental potential for AI to be deployed to transform education in a way by having an AI learning buddy that would maybe surpass some of the strongest benchmarks of having one-on-one tutoring and most aspects relevant to students that would increase our study outcomes at the end. So we realized that this has a fundamental potential to improve academic excellence in our students, so we went all in and started thinking about AI-assisted tutors. So where are we exactly coming from? So we started working on projects in AI much before this general race on AI and ChatGPT became mainstream. We started working on Syntea about 4 to 5 years ago. And we started working with two primary use cases, which are rather common now, but the first one was, of course, question and answering, right, where students can ask questions about the course content. And the second one was pre-assessment, where students can essentially assess their pre-existing knowledge on a certain topic and area and really identify if they have some skill gaps overall, right? We believe we're the first higher education to really globally roll out these features at scale, and we've also built our model in a way that we can upgrade to the most latest language LLM model that's state-of-the-art as well. We rolled out in English courses because at the time, LLM models were just more suited towards the English language, but now it's also across a lot of our German language programs as well. As previously mentioned, what we learn is important, how we learn is important, so while I'm focusing a bit on how we learn, we're also extremely invested in what we learn, and we are investing a great deal in shaping our curriculum as to how students can best take advantage of this new world that is AI-driven to a very strong extent. Let me give you a brief insight into what Syntea looks like for our students.
With over 100,000 students, IU International University of Applied Sciences is the largest university in Germany. Hi, I'm Syntea, the AI-powered learning buddy designed to support learners in IU, and I'm already available across more than 1,100 courses. Let me introduce you briefly to my main capabilities and how students benefit from the tailor-made learning experience. With question answering, you can ask questions about the script 24/7 whenever you need it. Ask me the question and I will answer, showing which part of the scripts are relevant so that you can read them again yourself. Every answer is double-checked by tutors, and you can see whether that has already been done. Pre-assessment is an interactive quiz feature that will allow you to test your knowledge and identify potential gaps about the course topics after enrollment. I will guide you through questions and adapt based on your responses. Then I will show you your results. In the trainer function, I will give you exam-like questions, perfectly adjusting to the difficulty level you need automatically. Questions will come both as multiple choice and open-ended. Post-response, you will see quantitative feedback and qualitative feedback. This service will soon calculate your readiness for the exam and much more. Reading the course book is SU 20th Century. Instead, with deep dialogue learning, you can interactively discuss topics of the course in bite-sized sessions with me. Like Socrates did back in the days with his students, our session will stimulate active, critical thinking. I'm guiding the conversation and helping you to share opinions and explore the subject until all important key aspects have been covered. The session concludes with a summarizing inner reflection. I'm Syntea, and I improve students learning at IU International University because I personalize teaching and make it completely relevant to each student's needs. Ask me anything.
So yeah, so that's generation one of Syntea, which we're currently rolling out at scale. One, as I said, is the question and answering ability, and the other is, of course, the pre-assessment. An important thing to notice about the question and answering ability is that there is a human in the loop that is verifying and fact-checking everything that Syntea says. We understand that one of the weak points of these large language models are, of course, prone to hallucinations overall, and those are the weak points. So we build Syntea predominantly on the content of our course books in itself. So it's not pulling out things at random from the internet and then feeding it to our students. I'll give you a little bit more insight on that over the next couple of slides, but I'll move on a little bit to pre-assessment. And pre-assessment is when students can really get some idea of important questions about their course and their topic and really identify where their skill gaps are. So if you're taking a course, for example, on social media marketing, and you realize that, okay, I know a little bit of this content already, or I'm very strong in it, Syntea will pre-assess it, and it will tell you which areas maybe you need to brush up on, or which areas you need to focus more on. And this is our first work away towards adaptive teaching and also adaptive content through a learning path already. So we're already in approximately 1,000 English courses already, and 1,500 German courses already, which constitutes for approximately 73% overall of all of the modules that we're offering at our institution right now. And we're planning to roll out literally to every module that we have. You see on the left over here a little bit is our chat interface avatar of Syntea, which you saw on the slide before, and she would appear in the pre-assessment. And we tried to give it a very natural, lifelike feel or experience, but in generation 2, you can even customize what this avatar of Syntea would actually look like. Let's look at some numbers and how this is actually faring with our student body and our population in general. So this is some numbers behind our question and answering capability right now. When we rolled out Syntea, we rolled it out so that students could ask questions in a public setting forum. There weren't very many questions that were being asked. We then said, listen, let's make it private. And all of a sudden, the amount of questions that were asked completely ballooned. And when we soon realized that, maybe in a public setting, students are a bit embarrassed to share questions, or maybe like me, perhaps to just ask the same question over and over again in a different way. And we saw that it completely ballooned forward as well. And maybe students simply didn't want to be embarrassed. In the first months that we launched it, in this private setting way, we had approximately 2,500 questions coming in the first month in itself. The number is growing, of course, and what is equally important over here is you see the gray-white trend line below it. That's our paraphrase detection rate. And what that tells us that if a student asks a question that has already been answered by Syntea and that has been fact-checked or verified by the tutor, they get an instant just-in-time feedback already. We're currently, of course, at almost 50%, so every 1 in 2 question that gets asked gets an instant reply back. Obviously, the more questions that are asked, the greater this bank builds up, and the quicker students get back their level of feedback as well. Having asked students what their experience with Syntea is, we see approximately almost 90% are extremely satisfied with it. And more important than satisfaction, or I should say equally important with satisfaction, is that we find students who deeply engage with Syntea end up completing their degree program approximately 33%, a third of the time quicker than those who don't interact with Syntea. I'd like to now introduce you a little bit towards what we have planned for generation 2 of Syntea, and that's quite interesting over here. Over here, what we have is a fully Socratic teaching fashion where the dialogue, we attempt for it to be extremely natural and taking it beyond just question and answer and pre-assessment, but also working towards skill development and soft skill development as well overall. So what I'd want to show to you is what this Socratic teaching method is really like. Over here you see the student is asking a couple of questions to Syntea, but Syntea is not giving the answer right away or immediately. Rather, it engages with a dialogue with you. And eventually, when the answer is ascertained in combination with Syntea, there's also a reflection step as well. And that essentially aids the student in summarizing what the key concepts and the learning outcomes are towards this. And there you have this very personalized teaching dialogue. And for this, for me, seeing this was a real game changer because no matter what your pre-existing knowledge is, you can engage with Syntea in a very quick, efficient fashion, or if you have a lot of deficit, you can take your time and Syntea will adjust its pace to give you that level of personalized teaching that you might need. During your dialogue with Syntea, if you wean off topic, Syntea will guide you back towards something that is more in line with what the topic should be about. So we have some leading industry pipelines that are behind this that help prevent students from waning off the path overall. This is our next function, which is...
One quick question.
Yeah.
Does the assistant also help the student to set up the learning plan, session, chapter-wise, so that they flow along with the syllabus? Or?
Well, in the current version that we have right now, no, but that is something that we are looking at.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. This is the second feature that we have over here, which is called the trainer over here. And the trainer does essentially what it says. It trains you towards the exam. So it trains you to apply the knowledge that you would have read in the course book, that you've had in the Socratic teaching fashion, in order to prepare you for the exam. So how does it do that? Well, firstly, it presents you with an exam-like problem that is taken from the pool of potential examination questions that you could potentially expect to see. The student is allowed to input in their answer, so be it multiple choice, be it more of an essay-style question, and then Syntea, it gives you, of course, a level of quantitative feedback that this is what you would have scored on the basis of your answer. But in addition to that, it also gives you what your reference answer is, that ideally, if there was someone who was grading this, what is it that would have ideally liked your answer to have looked like? And ultimately, at the end, the third point is it gives you a qualitative level of feedback of what you could have done to, in fact, increase your score to a much stronger extent overall. We rolled this out. Our beta testing version of this was rolled out a couple of months ago, and we rolled it out over 20 courses across about 1,000 students, and it's running for several months now. And we see a lot of interest already from the students who are actually using this service to improve their knowledge and also prepare for the exams overall. What helps great in this is that we've adopted Jokevsky's theory of proximal development, so that the question that it asked, it challenges you, but doesn't demotivate you either. So it shouldn't be in that bracket of ease or that bracket of difficulty where you lose engagement, because of course student engagement is extremely paramount in the creation of all this. At the end of the day, of course, we hope that the student will receive multiple times the level of feedback that they would maybe ideally receive when they're at a typical institute of education. What's important to note is that, of course, the feedback that it receives is just in time and it's fully personalized, and we're very strong believers that this is going to empower our educators, our students, towards achieving what their study goals are overall. What is coming next for us? Well, we have numerous other use cases in which we think we can be applying Syntea towards, and this is that element of soft skills development overall. And yeah, you can pick up a book on negotiations, win-win negotiations, but why not negotiate with a Syntea avatar and test your skills? Leadership, for example, why not work with a bunch of Synteas from different parts of the world and hone your leadership skills with them overall as well. There's a lot of simulation work going on where we bring Syntea into a more simulation form of setting as well. And of course, if you're not a fan of a blonde version of Syntea, you can customize Syntea to looking like your professor, for example, or whatever it is that you might say, but all to give you this very natural, adaptive, and personal way of learning. Syntea is extremely embedded within the academic side of things, but we're also deploying Syntea immensely towards our administrative side of things as well. And the CEO of Microsoft, Satya Nadella, caught word of this as well, and he highlighted the work that we're doing.
All the examples in Germany, right? Bayer and Bearing Point and E.ON and Porsche and SAP and Siemens and Uniper. In fact, one cool example I saw today was from IU, which is obviously an international university that's doing some phenomenal work in educating people. And they built their assistant, Syntea, and they built, in fact, an agent or a custom, a personal tutor, if you will, for the real world. So for anyone who is going into university there. But they have done a version of Syntea for work, right? So in fact, think of it as an agent that docks with Copilot. They call it Copilot, Syntea Copilot. And it's very well done, because it really then goes into my graph, looks at my role, looks at all the things I'm doing, the meetings I'm having, the work artifacts I'm creating, and creates essentially a personalized curriculum for me to be able to do just-in-time training for the job that I have, right? So that's just an example of even what was in the past, let's call it corporate learning apps and corporate learning process, being streamlined such that it is now being delivered just when you need it in an interface like Copilot, right? So that's fantastic to see the progress there. And of course, we're not stopping here.
Right. So, of course, we have the academic side of things which we're speaking about, but also the admin side of things which we're rolling out to also make our admin staff more efficient. Being a university of 200,000 students, we need to deliver solutions on scale that are cost effective and efficient as well, but at the same time maintaining a very strong degree of quality standard as well. Happy to take any questions. I finished a bit before time, but hopefully that gives us a nice amount of buffer to take any questions which you might have. Yeah, go ahead.
A couple of questions.
Yeah.
The first question that I have here is, when you spoke about skills assessment, one of the key asks from the international accreditation agencies of late is trying to give an evidence of AOL aligned to the competences of the skills, right? So, I mean, there's a wonderful opportunity. It's a question kind of idea there. When the cohort comes, because they ask for an evidence as to what is the delta that the institution has been able to provide to a graduating student compared to what they were at the beginning of the program.
Right.
Right? So based on the competencies which could be linked to the student attributes that the student comes in, the university can create a kind of a framework, do an initial assessment when they step into the program, and then when they're about to graduate, you do an assessment, right? So there's an evidence which comes in.
Absolutely.
Right? Unlike the conventional way of creating a curriculum map, aligning it to the courses, negotiating with the faculty for the continuous improvement, this would be a phenomenal kind of an approach.
No, absolutely. I think it's a wonderful chain of thought. And if we look at the Manchester Metropolitan Business School, they've created something similar. I believe they did a session about that either today or yesterday. Something along those levels and those lines where it's actually tangibly measurable, and then you can present it forward and it can be marketed in favor of really the skills that our learners end up having while using Syntea, aside from just what their grade output is. But that's a wonderful opportunity.
The second perspective is, you said you have some ideas in terms of scaling up Syntea to provide student support services. So any ideas or thoughts that you're currently working on?
Sure, absolutely. So one element in area is grading. So we would like to take away the burden of having to grade or spend a copious amount of time for our professors and our lecturers to end up grading. And Syntea aids in doing that. Of course, our assessment needs to be calibrated in that manner so that it is not prone towards errors. It's a sensitive topic, and of course it requires a lot of coordination from the Ministry of Education as well. But that is something that they are open towards doing, and that is something that we are also working on as well. So definitely when it comes down towards the assessment form of things, it is aiding us to a very strong extent. And also just regular meetings in general, when it comes down to our team meetings and pulling up work artifacts that we have, rather than having to go through all of your emails and find out other aspects, we get presented reports at the end of every meeting. Every prof is empowered with, of course, the latest state-of-the-art ChatGPT. Every student has a co-pilot. Every admin member has a co-pilot and ChatGPT account as well. And we integrate quite a bit of those to make admin seamless.
Only the grading part or even the evaluation?
Well, we're looking predominantly right now at the grading part.
Yeah.
Predominantly at the grading.
We've done a kind of an experiment in our institution of deploying AI for evaluation of qualitative responses
Interesting.
of the students
Yeah.
in a given end-term examination.
Yeah.
And then we try to do a kind of a correlation between what is assessed by the prof
Yes.
vis-a-vis what is done by the AI.
So,
Right?
yeah.
Similar
Yeah, absolutely. So
quite similar, yeah.
I'd be very happy to share with you some initial studies. We're doing something similar as well to assess the grading bias that might come towards this.
Yeah.
And we're undertaking a similar study at our institution as well. I'm happy to share some of the preliminary results that we have of that with you.
Sure. Great.
Yeah.
I really don't want to ask this question, but how much did it cost you to create Syntea? And would you be, even considering in the near future to allow other universities to use it, perhaps at a cost? I mean, is that something as part of your
Great question.
strategy and
A
thinking?
great question. Had we started it today with the level of democratization that we have in the technology, I think it would have been far cheaper. I can't disclose a figure to you, unfortunately, but I can give you an idea of the size of our development team, which is approximately 15 FTEs, full-time employees, when it comes down to our development team. We started 15 to 25 on a more temp basis, and we started approximately 4 years ago, and everything was in-house. With regards to allowing other institutions to do this. These are conversations that we're having, and we are considering making a licensed version of this as well. Obviously, you can imagine the developers are quite cagey about their creation at the moment right now, but that doesn't mean that won't change.
Did you, at the moment, I mean, is this like a project that you did in your university? Did you check if there was other thing in the market, and that's why you decided to do it by yourself?
Well, our CEO, we're private equity owned. And of course, a very important aspect of being PE owned is scale. And technology is ingrained in our DNA and our culture. And our CEO in particular is a big advocate of AI and using tech as an enabler. Yes, we scouted the market. Initially, when we put out there, I believe the Khan Academy's Khan Mingo was the only similar version of this out there, but that was more to a K-12 setting overall. But from a higher education institute standpoint, there was no one who did this. So we believe we were the first institute to actually move this out at scale and worked on a first mover advantage, so to say.
Can I just ask, are you, I tried to Google quickly, but can't do it that quickly. Are you doing but my eyes saw it, you do exams 24/7.
Yes.
So is everything there's no synchronous moment. Is every single thing asynchronous, or do you build in synchronous?
We offer 3 different study modes. So it can be fully online, it can be fully in person, and it can be hybrid as well. The ones that are online, they can be sync and they can be async as well. So that's one of our ethos is and our philosophy, that we want to offer the highest degree of flexibility that we can to really tailor what your learning journey should be. So we have a lot of elements in these different brackets. Yeah.
In person, you have campus.
Yes, so we have 28 campuses here in Germany right now, 28. The largest one in Berlin, the other one in Bonn, and we have more so these satellite campuses that are for our German undergraduate students who work predominantly on the very classic apprenticeship program that you have here in Germany, where you're 1 week in the classroom and you're 1 week at the employer deploying the skills that you've learned at an employer. Sure.
So this is purely personal and, do you, when you said that you offer 3 learning modes, for the fully online program, does the student have to come here, or it could be anywhere in the world and he could just
Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere
Absolutely.
in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's our online international. Yep.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I'm very curious to know how then you merge this in-person experience in campus with all that you have shown us. Is part of the teaching mode. How do you do it? This could be one question. And the other question is, which percentage of students do you have in campus, in blended and online? Because I always think about this model. Yeah. I think in an online student. Yeah. But how do you mix the the typical?
The split between our online and our on-campus is approximately 55% of our students are online, 45% are in person overall. Syntea is more of a buddy. It doesn't replace the actual learning that you would get from your interaction with your professors. That's still absolutely mandatory at the end of the day. These classes, either you attend them synchronously or they're recorded versions that you end up getting. So that interaction with your professor is a very important component that we don't want Syntea to ever replace at the end of the day. Which, of course, initially when we came out with this, faculty had a lot of questions, obviously, saying, what is our relevancy at the end of the day? But what this ends up doing also, it ends up freeing up a lot of time for our faculty to focus on maybe slightly more meaningful aspects, such as research, coming up with new study programs as well, shaping curriculum as well, partnering with other institutions rather than being inundated with maybe grading or answering emails to relatively simple questions.
And a question on that, how did the faculty reacted to this, and who owns Syntea, in the sense of, is it like LMS that the professor will put up things and they have to program or to feed with, I don't know, books and articles, all that, or is it centralized by the university?
So it's centralized by the university, it's centralized by our Department of Media Production. The course books are all devised by our professors. So at the end of the day, all the content is professor driven. And they're the ones who provide all this content. So in a way, their voice is completely represented and heard by way of their thought process. It is inundated into the pipelines that drive Syntea. Initially, of course, it was taken with quite a bit of fear. Are we even going to be needed at the end of it? But over time, that's been changed. And people do realize that it's more of an assistant, it's more of a buddy, it's a sparring partner, it's an extra added advantage that's available at 3 in the morning when a student wants to get up and start doing their work, for example.
Just a kind of a follow-up question to what he asked. In terms of operationalizing that, in terms of how do you do that? A perspective there is, do you give a login to each of the faculty where the faculty can upload the course material, the PowerPoint presentation, the reference material, which gets uploaded into the LLA, right, which then gets connected to the Syntea, and then as and when a student shoots a question in a particular subject, then the data points are connected and then the student gets a response. Is that how it's planned?
So the content creation is completed independently.
Okay.
The professors complete their content creation. There's a central repository where they upload it. It's quality checked. And then Syntea is trained upon that. When it comes down to actually the question and answering part of it, when a student has a question, a professor will get an alert on his email saying, hey, you have a Syntea question that needs to be answered. Please try and answer within the next 24 hours. And usually our professors are quite decent, our tutors are quite decent at replying. And of course that bank builds up, and that's why we have that paraphrase detection rate. Initially, students don't get this just-in-time response because we want to make sure there's a human in the loop and everything is quality checked by a tutor before releasing it to them. But that bank builds up, and then eventually the bank has enough of a repository in it where students get just-in-time feedback. But initially, that bout of the answers that the questions that are released towards the students, they are checked by a human and by a professor or a tutor before they're released.
The faculty is to check the answer of Syntea?
Indeed.
Or
of Syntea. Of Syntea. To edit Syntea, to agree with what Syntea says, add something on towards it, and it enters into the bank.
Yeah, just a kind of a quick follow-up question on that. One of the key emergent trends in academia is a faculty doesn't design a course and then it doesn't stay on that way. With every cohort, it's supposed to be updated, which means the content and the knowledge base is also being updated, which means a faculty is expected to give the value add or additional learning content to the centralized team on an ongoing basis as and when he or she decides to upgrade the course?
Absolutely. So we also need to, as with every usual Ministry of Education, we need to update our courses in a certain amount of months for it to still be accredited and valid. So our courses undergo a recontent and a refreshed view of state-of-the-art research very often as prescribed by the ministry. And then, of course, Syntea needs to be then refed that new bout of information again.
You have, I just wanted to know, how long has your university used Syntea?
So we rolled out Syntea approximately 2 years ago.
So is there any visible changes in the students that you have seen in these 2 years? Or was it not just by the professors, but also by other stakeholders, perhaps like recruiters or alumni or important stakeholders? Was there something obviously different since you started using this technology in their development?
So one of the KPIs that we look at is study progression. That's quite important for us. And we've seen study progression increase by approximately 33%. We've also seen a greater improvement in grade point average as well. So we've seen approximately a 12% improvement in overall grade point average. Obviously, when we rolled out 2 years ago, the pool was still a beta tested pool. As of last year, it's been rolled out more so at scale, and we're still monitoring other elements of KPIs that we can look at to see what evidence we can leverage from this. But initially, it looks quite promising. Yeah.
And in terms of, let's say, validity of your title, of your degrees, it is from the Ministry, Education Ministry of German industry. So it indeed is really an official, let's say, degree. No? like
It's-
any other
It's
university?
state accredited.
Is it state accredited?
It's state accredited. We're ranked by QS. We are FIBA accredited, CHE accredited. So yeah, like any other institution, we have all the seals and approvals that you would expect us to have.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Thank you. Great. I think we are a little bit over time. That's fine. No, please. I really appreciate it. Yeah.